chuki ya nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Chuki ya nini kati yangu mimi na wewe? Remember, that's the Les Wanyika. It was started in 1978, up to date. We are still keeping it strong. We love you so much. Kamuntie wahero waenya.
Wow.
Wahero twagenu sana.
Just a quick question. Do you want one more? Do you want one more right now?
Festac, do you want one more or two more?
I think in the interest of time, we'll allow the good governor of Kisumu, Professor Peter Nyang'nyongo, to proceed. But Les Wanyika have promised us they are right here until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So there is lots where that came from. Let's appreciate Les Wanyika, Your Excellency, kindly. And let's appreciate the good governor as he comes along.
Thank you very much. I had come here early, but I was ruled out of order by Les Wanyika. I think there were Gen Zs behind here plotting against me. But anyway, I think it was just for the better that we have had Les Wanyika after such a long time. Les Wanyika, Remember your days in Starlight, in Pan-Afrique, and all those. Please come back to Kisumu also. Visit us more frequently. I'd like to welcome here now, and please welcome to Kisumu my fellow governors. Governor James Orengo of Siaya, who is sitting over there, makofi kwa Jim. Governor Simba Arati from Kisii. And there's always the sweetest music, Governor Gladys Wanga from Homa Bay. And greetings from Governor Ochila Yako in Migori, who could not make it, but he's with here in soul and spirit. It is now my time, really. I don't want to say more than I had said, but I want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of Festac. My dear friend, the chairman, Yinka, and your team for the good work that you have done. I want to thank my ministers and members of the county government and the assembly who have been very, very supportive, and all the workers in Kisumu County for this great work. I want to thank the artists. You saw our very own Sultan Owiyo singing here just now, and there are many more who could have come. But we shall continue the whole week with music, art, and culture. And so keep on coming up to Friday. There is no day that will be lost for you to miss the wonderful music you have here today. I'd also like to thank very sincerely those of us who are not here but who could have been here. And I'm sure they're listening to me somewhere. But they will continue during the week. And please do come, because the success of Festac is your success. Those visitors who have come today, please continue coming and encourage the others to come. Let me therefore take this rare opportunity to invite to the stage my dear friend, Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo, who has for a long time been the bedrock of Pan-Africanism. Together with his co-president, they created NEPAD. And Festac is part and parcel of the cultural renaissance that they envisaged in NEPAD. Mr. President, you are always welcome to Kisumu. As Raila reminded us today, earlier on, that when you last were here in Kisumu, not really last, but the most memorable opportunity was when you went to the Museum Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and you made sure that you drank uji at our market in Kisumu. That picture still stands as a historical point in the standard nation of that day. Mr. President, feel welcome to address your people.
Governor, thank you very, very much. My dear brother, Prime Minister Raila Odinga, come on the stage with me. You brought me here, and you cannot leave me alone. Your Excellency, the Governor of Kisumu County, and the First Lady of Kisumu County, Your Excellency, the other governors that are here, if I try to go in any order of protocol, I will get lost. So let me say or use something that we have manufactured in Nigeria. We say all protocol observed. I come up here to express appreciation and thanks. First, to the governor of Kisumu County for making this Festac to take place here and for contributing to what I call, and I think you can call it, a renaissance, a rebirth of Festac. But for me, I have a little bit of emotion because, as you heard, we had Festac, the first one in Senegal, in 1966. And for 11 years, there was no other one. Nigeria accepted to stage one in 1975. And we were preparing for it. Then there was a change of government. And some people said we should cancel it. And I said, we will not cancel it. We will host it. And we hosted it. And we brought black people from all over the world. Papua New Guinea, Australia, American natives. They all converged in Nigeria. And we had a very, very successful Festac, 77. Since then, it seemed maybe because we left it entirely in the hands of governments, we don't seem to be going anywhere. And at this juncture, I will want to commend and thank Yinka for your effort, for your tenacity, and for making Festac to come alive again in my own lifetime. And one of your friends that you call up said to us, and rightly, that Africa has no reason to be poor. That we are poor is not an act of God. That we are poor, or if you like, potentially poor, because we are not potentially without resources. That we are at this moment poor is because of poor mentality, if I may put it that way. And we have to wake up our ideas. What don't we have? When you go back into history, energy that others needed to make them wealthy, that energy was taken for 4 centuries through slave trade and slavery. We were carted away to the so-called New World, using the energy of our forefathers to make others rich and to impoverish us. And that hasn't stopped. Slave trade and slavery gave birth to colonialism. Again, resources and energy of Africa being shipped out to make others rich while we remain poor. And it hasn't stopped. We wake up and they say something structural adjustment. That was the idea of the World Bank. And then I said, what are we adjusting? We have no structure. And you say structural adjustment. You are deceiving us. You are cutting away our resources and continue to make us poor. And I was saying, for those of you who do not know, I was put in jail because in 1994, is it that I came here? 1995. I came for Jaramogi. I think it's the final first anniversary of the burial of a man I revered very much, and the opening of the Mausoleum. And I was invited by this young man. And I came. And I went back to Nigeria. And I got back to Nigeria and I was arrested. I was given 2 charges. One was that I have come to Kenya to collude with the opposition to bring the government of Kenya down. And second, that I was planning coup in Nigeria itself. So I was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment. And thanks to a friend like Prime Minister Raila, who contributed to my going to prison. When I came out of prison, another thing that I found was something they call globalization. After I've stayed in prison for 3.5 years almost. And I said, what is this globalization? And then I studied it. It means open your door, open your house, let me take whatever I can take out of your house, and then I close my door and my house to you. That's globalization. And that was sold to us. and again we lap it up. When are we going to stop accepting these received ideas that will not work for us? We have to. And the old African adage says, if you want to go far, you work together. If you want to go fast, you walk alone. In our case, we want to go fast and go far. So how do we do it? We have to work alone and together, so that we do not work in silos. If we work in silos, we will be destroyed piecemeal. We have to work together. And I saw what you could get when we hosted Festac 77 in 1977. People from Papua New Guinea came to give us their problem. Those in Australia came to give us their problem. The black people who are oppressed, who are marginalized, who are exploited, and all of us, of course, who are being exploited, came together. And that has not stopped. And I believe that it will not stop until we get our acts together. And the renaissance of Festac is part of the way of getting our act together. Unless the AU, as our continental organization, does what it should do and make Africa continental free trade agreement a great success, we are not going to get there. AU itself needs reform. How can you have a continental organization that has program, and after it has made program, is waiting for European Union to bring money out? Not too long ago, I was appointed, and I think I'm still AU high-level representative in the. When I was appointed, AU has no money to make me perform. We were waiting for European Union. We were waiting for America. We were waiting for Germany to give us money. And how much is the money? Because of my connection with Africa Development Bank, I called the president of Africa Development Bank. I said, I have this responsibility. I have this job. What can you do? He made money available. And that was why we were able to achieve what we were able to achieve for Ethiopia. How long will we go in that sort of way for? And how much money did he make available? $500,000. That was what was required. And AU could not make it available. So we now, as the deputy governor, said, we need a man or a woman, a person who will understand the problem of Africa and what role AU has to play. And I believe that we have that man in Prime Minister Raila Odinga. He understands the problem of Africa because he and I have worked on that problem before. And as the governor of Kisumu County said, we work together and brought about NEPAD. The governor and I went to Singapore. I think it was 1994. Governor. And our host then was Lee Kuan Yew, a good friend of mine. For 2 days, Lee Kuan Yew sat with us. This was before he wrote his book, From Third World to First World. And we want to know the magic. We were all there, about 40 of us. And after 2 days, he said to us, there's no magic. We, in Singapore, did a few things right, and we continue to do them right. In our individual countries in Africa, and collectively, as a continent, what are we doing right? And if we know what we are doing right, do we continue to do them right? If I may give an example of many countries, including my own, we take 2 steps forward, 1 step aside, and maybe 1, 2, or 3 steps backward. That cannot be progress. And that cannot get us there. And the truth is this: unless we are able to get there, we will not get the respect of the world that we deserve. We will not get appreciation of the world that we deserve. We've talked enough about poverty. Me, I don't talk about poverty now. I talk of wealth creation. Poverty alleviation, anybody who wants to alleviate poverty, let him go on. Me, I want to see wealth being created. And we can create wealth. We have everything to create wealth on the continent of Africa. Nobody will do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And if we don't do it for ourselves, we are all sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Our youth are restive. Our youth are unhappy. Our youth are dissatisfied. Our youth are bitter. They are angry. They are unemployed. And when we want to say something, we say, well, we have, 2063. As one of them said to me, now 2063 may be all right, but by 2063, he was pointing to me, you will be dead. If I remain as I am now, poor, I will be dead. I cannot wait till 2063. I want something now. And they're right. They want something now. And if we don't give it to them, we will be in trouble. You have to give it to them. And we can give it to them. It is within our ability to give it to them. What has changed between 1977 and today? A bit has changed. In 1977, Namibia was not independent. In 1977, apartheid was reigning. In 1977, Angola and Mozambique were torturing. They are not really family on their own. In 1977, Zimbabwe was not independent. But all these countries are independent today. So if by 1994 we've got rid of apartheid, we've got rid of colonialism in Africa, we have got Africa politically liberated. Today, Africa is not economically liberated. And that's why we need a man like my brother, once again, to lead the African Union and give us that reform, that leadership of the continental organization that will liberate us in Africa economically. And that is our duty. For me, as long as I'm alive, I will continue to contribute to that obligation, that duty, and that responsibility. And my brother, when he gets there, not if, when he gets there, you will do what you have to do to liberate Africa economically. And I wish you the best of luck.
The emperor, the conqueror, the champion, the lion is here.
Wow. Wow. Hello? Hello? Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to join me in applauding General Baba Olusegun Obasanjo. Thank you so much, my dear brother.
His Excellency, the Governor of the great county of Kisumu, and the First Lady of Kisumu, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, Hamjambo. I am very delighted to have an opportunity to talk to you today. But my speech has already been made by the General. And the other chief guests, Dr. Fazam Kamalabadi, they have spoken for me. May you stand up, Dr. Kamalabadi, to be you made my day today. I don't have much to add. But today we are in Festac, we are opening Festac. It's a festive occasion. And therefore, we are in the great city of Kisumu. Kisumu hoy! Kisumu hoy! Kisumu, Kisumu, Dalawa, Kisumu, Kisumu, Dalawa, Kisumu, Dalawa, Kisumu, Kisumu, Dalawa. Kisumu, Kisumu, Dalawa, Kisumu, Kisumu, Dalawa, Kisumu, Dalawa, Kisumu, Kisumu, Dalawa. Nyanza hoy! Kenya hoy! Africa hoy! Africa ka kanindo tieno katingo wia tuganene wanga. Maya tuga makameno njela makupoga godo dipoka kethu dinda. Africa hoy! Africa hoy! It is a great pleasure. Africa, good morning. Bonjour, bonjour, l'Afrique. It is a great pleasure to join so many Africans from across the continent and the world to celebrate Africa and its culture. We welcome those from different parts of the world who have made time to be here and to see how it was and how it is at the cradle of humankind as we celebrate our culture. We are all at home. It has been proven scientifically that the first humanoid species was here in this part of the world. And that's why anybody who comes here is welcome back home. I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate the city of Kisumu for bringing this great event home. I equally thank the organizers for staging a show that is designed to leave a mark. Indeed, Africa is coming of age. We are here to celebrate African culture as expressed in food, music, stories, dances, business, fashion, and sports, among others. This meeting is very much in line with aspiration number 5, the Agenda 2063 of the African Union, which envisages an Africa with a strong cultural identity, a common heritage, shared values and ethics, and focused on Pan-Africanism. The aspirations number 5 commit to tap Africa's rich heritage and culture to ensure that the creative arts are major contributors to the continent's growth and transformation. We have to admit that as a continent, we have not invested enough in creative industries, and we have not used the industry as we should to unite our people and integrate the continent. At events like this, we reaffirm what we often take for granted or even doubt, that Africans are one people. There's nothing you're going to find here in Kenya that looks very, very different and unimaginable to a person from Senegal, Zambia, or Egypt. In a way, we are unique when it comes to culture. When you go to Asia, there are many different kinds of Eastern culture. You meet the Indian, the Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, and so on. You go to Western culture, you meet equally many different cultures. German, English, French, American. But when it comes to Africa, there's a strong sense of uniformity. Wherever Africans are, however removed from the motherland, they all tend to put the family as the main reference for the individual. And they all tend to agree that society or community is more important than the individual. We all distill our lessons and transmit our experiences. We agree that distilled knowledge is beneficial for our societies to succeeding generations. May these traditions never die among the African people. May they unite and not divide us. It is, however, a painful contradiction and a matter of great concern that despite the near uniformity in our beliefs and traditions, Africa is more divided than these societies with multiple cultures. You have never harnessed our music, food, stories, and family connections to deliberately pursue unity and advance our cause as a people. The Congolese music is enjoyed across the entire continent, just like the music from Cameroon, Nigeria, Tanzania. Ethiopian, Somalian, Nigerian dishes are getting enjoyed across the continent. But that is where it ends. Good food, good music, and nothing more. You have never deployed these tools for oneness. They are clinging hard to borders and boundaries that were set up by colonialists and define things that should unite us by countries of origin. It is a pity that 60 years since most of our countries attained independence, we are still divided and proud to be divided with the languages of our colonial masters. That is, Anglophones, Francophones, and Lusophones. At that time, the owners of those colonial languages are forging a united Europe. There is no Anglophone or Francophone in Europe, but there is Anglophone and Francophone here in Africa. What a pity. Africa has to change. Escalated unity is the way to go. The cultural ties that bind us is a great starting point on the path to unity. For historical reasons, Europe is our closest associate around the world. We are not going to engage meaningfully with a unified region when we act as a host of tiny individual nations. Integration is an idea whose time has come. Now, I keep on saying all the times that we need Africa developed by Africans. But we have got two categories of Africans. They are Afro-optimists and Afro-pessimists. Afro-pessimists are those who have given hope on Africa. They say that Africa is a lost cause. And they talk about what has been visited upon Africa by our colonial masters. Afro-optimists, on the other hand, are those people who believe in the ability of the African people to develop Africa. These are the people who believe in Pan-Africanism ideology. Africa is the richest continent on planet Earth in terms of resources. It is a paradox that the richest is also the poorest when it comes to living conditions is the people. This, the paradox, what we must resolve. We cannot continue all the time to live in our colonial past and blame colonial masters. We should also not allow ourselves to be put in the bondage of other international institutions which were formed without African participation, which have continued to misguide development of the continent. We must take the development of the continent in the hands of our own people and move forward. This is what is required to be able to use all the materials that we have here for the benefit of our people. And this is possible. It is possible to turn what we have into wealth and therefore create a conducive environment for development in the country, in the continent. It's a pity that today African youth drown in the Mediterranean on their way to greener pastures in Europe. This is a trend that we need to arrest by creating enabling environment on the continent, by creating opportunities for employment right here in the African continent. That way we'll be able to save our people, to salvage our people. We need to look ourselves as Africans and Africa for Africans. This is the reason why I've accepted the challenge by my friend, long-term friend, General Oga Papa Olusegun Obasanjo. Papa has also been a mentor to us. He's told you how we met. Papa used to run an institution called African Leadership Forum. In that forum, he was training young African leaders to try to impart on them experience. He took me and the governor of Kisumu to his village town of Ota, next to Lagos. And there brought us together with the retired president of Africa, President Kenneth Kaunda, President Tumani Toure of Mali, President Buyoya of Burundi, who are giving us experience of challenges in leadership. So we were well taught. He took us again to other places. As you can see, he took Anyang to Singapore to go and see the Singaporean experience. As a result of that, when I was a prime minister, I took my ministers to Singapore, and I told them this is going to be the last time anybody in leadership in Kenya is going to come to Singapore. We want to go back to Kenya and do what these people have done in their country. And we came back, and in that grand coalition government, we do something in this country that has never been done before. And today it is accepted that the grand coalition government was the government, the best government that Kenyans have seen since independence. So we believe it can also be done on the African continent. Africa, as you know, cannot move forward when it cannot even trade with itself. As we are speaking today, the intra-African trade stands at 15%. Inter-European trade stands at 70%. Intra-Asian trade stands at 60%. Even South America, 35%. Africa, only 15%. What are the impediments? The impediments are, one, non-tariff barriers imposed by different countries on the continent. Secondly, lack of infrastructure in the continent, making it very difficult for goods to move from one country to the other country. And that's why I said we need to take this animal called infrastructure head on. The Trans-African highways, the Trans-African high-speed network, the open skies in the continent, and so on. As things stand today, to travel within the African continent by air is a problem. They are taxing you to fly over air, open air. And you must get a license to fly over one country to the other country. They don't do that in Europe anymore. And to travel in Africa, you need so many visas. My friend, and our friend with General Aliko Dangote, one of the biggest African entrepreneurs, says that for him to travel across the continent, he needs 35 visas. His French counterpart, who's a businessman like himself, does not need a visa because he's having a French passport. With a French passport, you don't need a visa to travel across Africa. With a Nigerian passport, you need 35 visas to travel across the continent. What a shame. So we are going to introduce African Union visas that can enable you to travel across the whole continent without requiring to have any visas at all. Will make it easier for people to travel, to trade within the continent of Africa. We will also open borders so that goods can move freely. We will work towards construction of the African high-speed railway network, with African road networks. We will also address the issue of energy. Energy is a major impediment to development of the continent. Yes, Africa has got abundance of energy sources. Hydro, solar, wind, geothermal, you name it. It's all available on the African continent. Yet energy is very expensive. We will make it cheap and accessible to the majority of our people. We will also ensure that we tackle the issue of climate change. Africa is a victim when it comes to the issue of climate change. Africa only emits less than 5% of greenhouse gases. But Africa suffers the consequences of climate change. Many African countries today live between twin disasters, floods and drought. We need to find ways of dealing with this. But Africa also needs to be compensated by the offenders. To negotiate as individual countries, you'll get nowhere. But when we negotiate as Africa, we'll be able to get adequate compensation for the destruction of the environment. Africa is also home to the second biggest carbon sink in the world. How does Africa get compensated? And how do we also regreen Africa? Those are challenges that we must face. So I want to end my conversation today by telling you the story of the African lion. Africa, the home of the lion. In Nigeria, you have got the eagle. In Cameroon, they have got the indomitable lion. In Senegal, they have the land of Teranga. In Morocco, they have got the Atlas lions. In Kenya, you have got the Kenyan Simba. So they say the lion is the king of the jungle. So when the king of the jungle roars, all the other animals crouch. The African lion is sending a message which was said earlier on by my friend. This message is to the Asian tiger. The African lion is saying to the Asian tiger, you have danced alone on the stage for far too long. It is time that you quit the stage. The European bear retreated a long time ago to the polars and is freezing there in the North Pole. The American panther is also on the retreat. I'm the African lion. I've been asleep in the jungles of the Congo, but now I'm awake, surrounded by the mighty Congo River, the mighty Nile, the Niger, the Gambia, the Limpopo, the Zambezi. I'm bound on the east by the peaks of Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Kenya, to the west by Atlas Mountains, and I'm sitting on African gold, African bauxite, African iron and copper ore, African diamonds, African oil, African lithium, African coltan, African uranium. And I intend to transform all these raw materials into wealth for my people and make the 21st century truly an African century. Message from African land to the Asian tiger. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Your Excellency. May we accord His Excellency Dr. Odinga a standing ovation and a massive round of applause for those words of wisdom, gems indeed. And Your Excellency, we are privileged to be part of this audience. As we remain standing, we shall have the national anthem of the Republic of Kenya, which shall signify the official close of our engagement this afternoon. National anthem. Thank you. Shall we allow His Excellency and his entourage to exit first through the left if you are facing the stage, then the rest of us can follow. Protocol officers, kindly lead our dignitaries as they proceed. For the rest of us, there's a lot more from the Festac team right here. Please enjoy the rest of your stay. Jabali.
All right, thank you very much. Festac programming continues, and we're going to start with the Uganda group.